There is a quiet fantasy that lives in the back of many modern minds, walking away from the constant buzz, the notifications, the obligations, and building a life where the sky is your ceiling and survival is your daily craft. But for me, the idea of living off the grid isn't just romantic, it's a contingency plan. I believe knowing how to unplug from the system if necessary is a form of freedom most people have never truly considered. Living off the grid, at its core, is about one thing: self-reliance. It's choosing to depend less on invisible infrastructures, power companies, grocery chains, data networks, and more on your own skills, land, and community. That doesn't mean paranoia, it means preparation. I believe the greatest security in uncertain times doesn't come from having more stuff. It comes from needing less from a system that can collapse without asking your permission. The first shift is mental, not physical. You have to stop seeing comfort as your default and start seeing competence as your safety net. When you live on the grid, you can afford to ignore how things work. Food appears in stores, water comes out of taps, light comes on with a switch. Off-grid, none of that is guaranteed. I believe the real question isn't, could I live off the grid, but am I willing to become the kind of person who can? If living off the grid ever became necessary because of economic crisis, political instability, natural disaster, or simply personal conviction, the foundation would be simple: food, water, shelter, energy, and connection. Each one demands a skill set, not just a purchase. I believe the people who will adapt best are those who treat these skills as a lifestyle now, not an emergency crash course later. Food comes first. When the grocery store is no longer your pantry, the ground becomes sacred. Learning to garden isn't just a hobby, it's an act of quiet rebellion against dependency. You begin to understand seasons, soil, seeds, and patience. You learn which crops feed you reliably, which preserve well, which can be traded. I believe there is a deep, ancient dignity in producing even a portion of your own food. It changes how you see every meal. Hunting, fishing, and foraging may become more than weekend activities. They can be lifelines, but they require respect. You need to know your ecosystem, what grows wild, what's safe to eat, how to harvest without destroying, how to track, how to field dress, how to store. I believe living off the grid demands a relationship with nature, not just an occasional visit to it. Water is next, and perhaps the most overlooked. A person connected to the grid rarely thinks about water beyond the bill. Off-grid, water is life in the most literal sense. You may need to locate natural sources, collect rainwater, dig a well, or build filtration systems. Every drop becomes deliberate. I believe learning to secure, purify, and conserve water is one of the most essential off-grid disciplines, and one of the clearest reminders that modern convenience has made us dangerously casual about survival. Shelter is not just a house, it's a fortress against weather, predators, and fatigue. An off-grid home might be a cabin, a tiny house, a yurt, or a cleverly converted structure. What matters is insulation, durability, and maintainability. Can you heat it without a utility company? Cool it without collapsing? Repair it without calling a contractor for every nail? I believe building or modifying your own shelter transforms you from tenant into steward. Energy is where modern life and off-grid life wrestle hardest. You don't need to reject technology to live off the grid. You just need to generate and manage its power yourself. Solar panels, wind turbines, micro-hydro systems, battery banks, wood stoves. These aren't just gadgets, they're your new infrastructure. You learn to balance usage with generation, to prioritize essentials, to respect limitations. I believe intentional energy use is one of the most powerful teachers of self-control. Communication and connection are often overlooked in off-grid fantasies. It's easy to romanticize complete isolation, but long-term survival rarely happens alone. Off-grid doesn't have to mean off people. It might mean alternative communication methods, ham radio, local networks, agreed rendezvous points, old-school letters when possible. More importantly, it means building trust with neighbors, forming small, resilient communities. I believe isolation feels strong in movies. In real life, community is the true backbone of endurance. Mentally, living off the grid requires a different relationship with time. Everything takes longer. You don't just heat something up. You build the fire or manage the stove. You don't run to the store. You harvest, process, or trade. At first, that sounds exhausting. But something beautiful happens. Your pace of life slows to something more human. Tasks become rituals. Work becomes meaningful. I believe off-grid living can turn rush into rhythm. There is also a spiritual dimension. When you strip away constant noise, something in your soul starts to recalibrate. Silence isn't empty anymore, it's full. You notice the wind, you hear birds, you see stars, you feel sunrise instead of just scrolling past it. I believe living closer to the land has a way of dragging your heart closer to God, not through forced religion, but through relentless exposure to His creation. Of course, the romantic side is incomplete without facing the hard truth. Off-grid living is tiring, unforgiving, and sometimes lonely. There will be days when the garden fails, the water system clogs, the roof leaks, the generator dies, the weather punishes you. There is no landlord to call, no instant rescue, no quick fix. You learn resilience because you have to. I believe off-grid life doesn't just test your skills, it tests your character. Preparation is everything. Even if you never fully move off the grid, you can live in such a way that you could if you had to. Start small. Learn to grow a few key crops. Practice going a day, then a weekend, with minimal grid dependence. Cooking from stored food, using alternative light, limiting tech. Study basic first aid. Learn to use tools. Build physical fitness. Your body becomes part of your toolkit. I believe every skill you learn now is a form of insurance you don't pay monthly for, but you'll be grateful for when systems fail. You also need a mindset of stewardship instead of consumption. On the grid, waste disappears into trucks and pipes. Off the grid, it hangs around until you deal with it. This forces you to be more careful about what you buy, what you discard, how you reuse. You might compost, repurpose materials, repair instead of replace. I believe living with a closed loop where you see the life cycle of everything creates a deeper respect for resources and a quieter conscience. Then there's security. In a world where grid systems fail or tensions rise, being off-grid can feel safer or more exposed, depending on how you approach it. You need to think about defense, not paranoia, but awareness. How visible is your location? Who knows you're there? What natural barriers exist? How will you respond to threats, both human and environmental? I believe a prepared mind is a calmer mind, and calm is critical when help isn't a phone call away. If I imagine living off the grid, if necessary, I don't picture running from the world in fear. I picture stepping into a life where I am no longer held hostage by its fragility. It's knowing that if the power goes out for weeks, I won't panic. If shelves empty, I can still eat. If systems crash, my identity isn't tied to them. I believe that kind of readiness doesn't separate you from society. It simply means you're less breakable when society shakes. Ultimately, learning how to live off the grid is about honoring a simple truth. The modern world is convenient, but not guaranteed. You don't have to hate it to prepare for its absence. You just have to respect reality enough to build a life that could stand without constant plugs and pipelines. So, how do you live off the grid if necessary? You train your hands, gardening, building, fixing, hunting, preserving. You train your mind, planning, adapting, learning, simplifying. You train your heart, embracing slower rhythms, deeper gratitude, and tougher resilience. You train your relationships, building trust with a small circle that can stand when systems fall. I believe the goal is not to escape the world, but to become the kind of person who can continue living with dignity, purpose, and peace even if the world as you know it suddenly goes dark. And that quiet, sturdy confidence, that knowledge that you could step off the grid and still thrive, is its own form of power. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to The Digital Mentor 777.